Thiruchitrambalam தென்னாடுடைய சிவனே போற்றி, எந்நாட்டவர்க்கும் இறைவா போற்றி. வேத நெறி தழைத்தோங்க, மிகு சைவ துறை விளங்க, பூத பரம்பரை பொலிய, புனிதவாய் மலர்ந்தழுத சீதவள வயற்புகலி, திருஞான சம்பந்தர் பாதமலர் தலை கொண்டு திருத்தொண்டு பரவுவாம். Thiruchitrambalam. A very good evening to all of you. Aiyarappar Thirumurai Mandram, in collaboration with Kaumara aadheenam, is bring a new program for today. Today is a very auspicious day. Yes, Thirugnana Sambanthar Guru Puja day. He is considered to be the leader in Siva, who successfully re-established Saivism during the 7th century. I am happy to announce the starting for this event today. This is a series which will be conducted monthly twice. We are about to be introduced to the holy text of Thirumurai one by one and slowly. This event is targeted at non-Tamil speaking Saivites who are keen to know more about the holy inscriptions, which is called as Thirumurai. There are 12 Thirumurais and we will slowly explore one by one in detail. Thank you all for being part of this journey and giving us the support. Our guest speaker, Siva Lavanya Arul, is a project management consultant and a trainer by profession and a lot of interest in Saivism. She is also a seasoned public speaker. I once again welcome you all for this event, and let's put our hands together to welcome our guest speaker, Siva Lavanya Arul, to give a speech. Thank you very much.
Sivaya Nama, Thiruchitrambalam. That was a lovely introduction. I really have to thank one and all for this. Thiruchitrambalam. சிற்றம்பலத்தான் திருத்தோழன் சுந்தரன் நற்றமிழ் மாலையணி நாவலூர் கொற்றவன் நம்பி ஆரூரன் பேர் நாம் ஒரு காலோதினால் தப்பிக்கும் தீவினையேதான். Siva Siva. I would like to heartfully thank our divine seer Kaumara Mutt Adina Gurumahasannidhanam and Aiyarappar Thirumurai Mandram for organizing this Saivite text series in English. To start with, we are going to start with Thirugnana Sambanthar, who is considered to be our first guru. Apparently, as our Ayya was mentioning, today is a very, very auspicious day because today is his Guru Puja day. And in such an auspicious day, we are starting our series of discourses as well. In Saivism, there are 4 parts, which is very prevalent when we talk about Saivism. We always keep talking about the 4 parts. Those are called as Sariyai, Kiriyai, Yogam, and Jnanam. When we talk about Sariyai, you can imagine something like this. 75% is external focused, like going to a temple, cleaning the temple, cleaning the areas, as well as taking care of all the clothing and removing the flowers or making garlands. All these are considered to be the external focused worship. 75% of external focus and 25% is internal focus. Obviously, we have to start somewhere to get attracted in this path, right? So 25% goes in there. The next path is called as Kriya. Kriya is, which we all are familiar with this term based on all the Kriya Yoga and all these mechanisms, but that Kriya Yoga is different from what we are going to talk about here according to the ancient text. In Kriya, we take as 50% external focused and 50% internal focused. So we travel within 50%, and at the same time we do our pujas and all these 50%, almost 50%. The third step is yoga. This is the place where 25% is going to be external focused, 75% internal focused, and this is not done purposefully or mindfully. All these have to happen. The entire concept has to be coming in as a default. It is not going to be pushed on us. That is something we need to know. Basically, what happens is when we start with Surrey, after a while, you will start traversing inside and you will let go all the external focus. Automatically, without our knowledge, subconsciously, we will get into Kriya. After that, when we stay in that for a while, again, the same experience happens and we will let go another 25 to 30% of it. And that is where the yoga sequence happens. And then one fine day, we will know that 100% is within us. There is nothing outside, but that was only a guidance for us. This is what we call it as jnana. Now, we are also talking about some kind of assumptions over here. When you talk about Sariye, the assumption here is a master slave kind of relationship with the Almighty. When we talk about Kriya, it is a father and son relationship with the Almighty. Yoga is the friendship kind of relationship with Almighty. And Jnana, which is something like a Guru Sishya Bhava, where we will assume ourselves as the Sishya and we have our Guru who is Lord Shiva. Obviously, we know today's focus is Kriya, which is advocated by our Thirugnana Sambanthar. If you look at this name, Thirugnana Sambanthar, Pandam in Tamil means relationship. Sam means good. Obviously, we know, right? The only good relationship in this universe is relationship with God. Name any other relationship that we are in. It could be mom and daughter, or we could be a mom and our daughter, or our son, or whoever it is, husband and wife relationship, friendship, whatever we are talking about in this worldly relationship. All these are temporary, and there will be situations where they will be backstabbing us. The only relationship in this universe which is beyond any kind of a scale of measurement is the relationship with God. That is what we call it as bandham, good relationship. That is what sambandham means. The next word we have to focus on is jnana. When we talk about jnana, there are three forms of jnana that also we have to get a little bit of clarity before we move on. If I know what is around me, like the education that is being provided to us right now, we can understand what do you mean by theory of relativity, all the way to Einstein's formula, all the way to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Name it, we know all these and we can do PhDs and we can get on to all these. But is it helping us in any way to understand God? Forget about God. Is it helping me to understand myself first? If you look at the number of cases which has got those of them who have got high stress level and mentally getting upset due to the stress at work, if you look at it, they are all highly learned people. And what kind of learning is that? The one that we are learning right now is all called as pasanyana, which is how to buy a car, how to save wealth, how to become a millionaire, these kind of jnana. This is also jnana, but it is called as pasanyana. Jnana means knowledge. The second one is to understand who am I. That is called as a pasunyana. The third one is knowing God. That is called as paranyana. Achieving this is not going to be an easy task. Achieving this paranyana or just getting next to it is also not going to be practically possible. But we can do so when we cling on to Thirugnana Sambanthar and his divine work. The reason is he is the best person to drive us safely in the path of Lord Shiva. Right now, we all have only pasanyana. Sometimes we do have pasunyana because sometimes we do have this kind of enlightenment to say, wow, I have to be this way, I have to be that way. So, in other words, right, this paranyana, we have to get related to our paranyana. And that is where the association that we are with is very, very important because the soul, human, is a product of this environment. You can imagine this with an analogy. Let's imagine there are few pieces of iron on your table. They don't get attracted to one another. If you just lay the pieces of irons, it will just be there, just in the state of being. It doesn't attract each other. But When one piece of iron gets attracted to a magnet, that is where the miracle happens. It will start attracting all the other piece of iron. Similar to this analogy, Thirugnana Sambanthar, who was also born as a human, who took a human body, same as like what we are, flesh and blood. But what is the difference between him and us is he is already a piece of iron which is having a very, very close contact with a magnet called as Shiva. All we have to do is just go near to him. That's enough. He will automatically attract us. But we need to consciously go near him. That is the most important one. Now let's get into the history of Thirugnana Sambanthar. His parents, his mom's name is Bhagavati Ammal and his dad's name is Siva Irudayar, literally translated as someone who holds on to Shiva's lotus feet in his heart or in his mind, whatever we call it, right? And it is considered that his period is 7th century and 7th century AD. He was born in a very beautiful place called as Sirhari. Even today, this place is considered to be one of the most auspicious place in Saivam tradition. He was born in a Vedic family. He was about 3 years old when this entire miracle happened. He accompanied his father to the temple pond because his father wanted to perform his morning pujas while he's taking his bath. So he took the kid along because the kid started, asking that he will also join, accompany his dad. So the dad took the kid, but he was a small kid, right? 3 years old. So he made the kid sit near the pond. And the father went into the pond and he took a dip because he had to do his morning ritual. He took a dip. If it was us, one of us, imagine we are sitting there and our dad has gone inside the water. Logically, we will start crying looking at the river or looking at the pond, right? This is the difference over here. Our Thirugnana Sambanthar is a divine child. So what he did was he looked at the temple, he looked at the Gopuram, temple Gopuram, and he started crying. We have seen in many movies, the villains will laugh. That will create so much of a havoc. Same ways, you will see some ladies crying. That will also create a lot of havoc. But you look at this, the kid did not laugh. The kid cried in order to save the world. That's the irony. Such a beautiful irony in reality, actually. The real outcome of crying is we have to cry in front of God. We shouldn't be crying thinking of our family issues and the trouble that we are going through, whatever. We have to cry in front of God, asking Him for His blessings, asking Him to be with us forever. But not many of us have that clarity yet. But Thirugnana Sambanthar, at the age of 3, he had this clarity. At that point in time, looking at the kid crying, Lord Shiva and his consort Parvati Devi came down to ease the kid's hunger. And Lord Shiva looked at his consort and said, okay, now feed the baby with your holy milk. So Parvati Devi took a golden bowl and then took some milk in that and she fed the baby. When the baby, we all know when a baby has his food or milk, it will start dripping along his chin, right? That's the same way this kid was also having his food. That is the time where he got all the necessary jnana. There are two types of jnana we talk about. One is by reading books, by reading all the holy text, whatever knowledge we have, that is one. Second one is already bestowed on us by Lord Shiva. Just by having this holy milk, Thirugnana Sambanthar was bestowed with both of these, Parajnana and Aparajnana. Now this is the time the dad is coming out of the pond and he sees the kid standing there with all the milk in its mouth. So the dad gets really wild, obviously, right? Because if you look at the Vedic family, they'll be having some pious rituals and all these, and they can't really take it when their kids have a food with somewhere else or someone else. So the dad got a bit angry and he was about to hit the kid, of course, to just threaten the kid. He took a cane and he said, "Where did you get the milk from?" The kid beautifully answered, "I took a milk from one of the thief." Actually, the dad asked this question because of this relationship. If you look at it, Milk is considered as a very, very auspicious aspect when it comes to our Saivam tradition, rather in Indian tradition itself. Milk is considered to be such an auspicious one. The reason is, whatever we are today, it is because of the milk that we are drinking when we are a child. Right now, many of us are not given the mum's breast milk. Rather, we are given a cow's milk. Not only a proper cow, most of us are having buffalo milk. How do we know that? Even today, you can relate with that. When you drive a car or a vehicle in a road, even after you honk your car, you honk your horn, no one is about to move over there. That's a behavior, not which is human, right? So we know what kind of a milk we are drinking right now. Anyways, apart from this, if you look at it, the dad was angry on the son, asking, where did you get this milk? Because wherever we get the milk, we will get those characteristics. Immediately, the son says, oh, yeah, I drank a milk from a thief. And this thief has a very peculiar attraction. He doesn't go behind money. He doesn't go behind any riches or wealth or whatever we are talking about. Rather, he stole my heart. That is how he starts. The very, very first padigam he is reciting is starting something like this. தோடுடைய செவியன் விடை ஏறியோர் தூவெண் மதிசூடி காடுடைய சுடலை பொடி பூசி என் உள்ளம் கவர் கள்வன் ஏடுடைய மலரான் முனை நாள் பணிந்தேத்த அருள் செய்த பீடுடைய பிரமாபுரம் மேவிய பெம்மான் இவனன்றி. Now we may have a question here. If you look at this verse, I'm just translating this for our benefit of our non-Tamil speaking friends. When you say Todudaya Seviyan, it literally means Lord Shiva in the form of Ardhanarishwara. Right? That's how that's how this entire song starts, or the verse starts. The first question we may have in our mind is, it was Parvati Devi who fed the milk. So by right, the kid should have given this. When we thank someone, we will usually thank someone who has given us something, right? So by right, we should be thanking Parvati Devi. But on the contrary, the kid is actually thanking Lord Shiva. This is where a psychology is there, which we have to understand carefully. Until the age of 5, a kid will always lean towards a parent who supports the kid. You can observe this in your house itself. When you're supporting your kid will be on your side. They will always lean towards the person who's actually the parent who's actually supporting. After the age of 5, it will be totally the other way. If mom scolds the kid will take the side of the dad. If the dad scolds the kid will take the side of a mom. So the psychology will reverse after the age of 5. This is also one of the proof that Thirugnana Sambanthar was less than 5 years while he was singing his first padigam. Who supported the kid in having the milk? It is the dad, because the dad was the one who told the mom to feed the kid, right? So that is why the kid stands towards the dad over there. That is the psychology that we are able to see. So we are able to see a beautiful psychology right from the very beginning of this particular padigam itself. So with this padigam, he starts bestowing the Ardhanarishwarar form. He starts worshipping, or rather giving the form of Ardhanarishwara for Lord Shiva. If you look at the way how Thirugnana Sambandhar's padigam was organized, because I'm just going on to, because after this he starts his journey and he starts singing a lot of padigams, and whenever he's visiting multiple temples and all these. There are 12 holy texts in Saivism, which is called as Thirumurai, and the first 3 Thirumurais are given. Thirumurai is given to Thirugnana Sambanthar, a total of 383 padigams. Padigam means, padigam literally translates as a verse, which is a combination of 10 to 11 verses in one in the same format. That is how they call it as padigam. And totally, if you look at it, the number of verses is 4,169 verses. So the first Thirumurai has 136 padigam, second Thirumurai has 122 padigams, and third Thirumurai has about 125 padigams. Obviously, we know these are the leftovers after the termites had a scrumptious meal. This is something that we should be ashamed of anyways, but at least we can be a little bit happy that at least we had this 300 and we are having this 383 padigams. But this is not to be happy or proud about. We should always slap ourselves to say that we have lost quite a lot. Now, the next question we may have is, what is the benefit of reading this Thirumurai? Right? I mean, whenever we do something, we always expect something in return, right? So what is the benefit? Why should I read something? Why should I do this? Basically, the trouble that we are going through is all because of our accumulated karma. And the first three Thirumurai serves as an antidote for that. If you want to just get rid of your karma, just like that in a jiffy, the best medicine is going to be Thirumurai. And if you look at whatever issues, are we having emotional crisis because of the relationship with our spouse or with our loved ones at home, or even at office, we are having a lot of emotional crisis in the office. Obviously, we are not supposed to have an emotional attachment, but many of us do have. Or rather, are we having financial situations, or are we having medical conditions like arthritis, or we need to remove poison from our body, whatever, or talking about our spiritual growth, or any kind of family challenges, like we do have kids who needs to get married, or they need to have a good education, or our parents well-being, whatever it could be. All these can be easily sorted out with the first three Thirumurai. We are going to talk about the other Thirumurais also. Since I'm focusing on Thirugnana Sambanthar, I'm talking about the first three. Now, don't get into a confusion whether starting from the fourth doesn't, that's also going to have a lot more benefit. And when we are moving on to that padigam, we will talk about the benefits of reading those. When you talk about the padigams, it is, as we said earlier, it serves as an antidote for our karma. Not only that, if someone wants to learn literature as in Tamil literature, trust me, you will love these three Thirumurai. It's a feast. It's a feast. You are not able to see, you won't be able to see this kind of a literature in any other language. Any other language. For example, palindrome. We all know we have to say madam, and if you say the other way, if you just talk about it the other way also, it sounds the same. We have been talking about this for a long time. The longest palindrome that we know in English is 124 characters. And if you look at the meaning of it, I don't think it has in English, they add on a lot of letters, because those days adding letters means the person who's coining the word will get more money. That was the reason. So that is the reason you do see, for example, there's a word called rendezvous. The way how it is written is rendezvous. If you read it literally, sorry about it, pardon me, but that's not the way how it's supposed to be read. But if someone is reading it without any idea, they will read it as rendezvous. But when you pronounce it, you have to call it as rendezvous. If you look at it, there's no relationship over there. This is how English words and French words are being coined. But in Tamil, if you look at it, the way how it is structured, each and every word, each and every character, each and every letter has a meaning. And Thirugnana Sambanthar has written a whole padigam on palindrome format, 10 verses. It starts as Yamama ni Yamama. Just one verse we will see this. Yamama ni Yamama. Yari kama kanaka, kana kama kariya, mama yani mama ya. If you read it the other way, it's going to give you the same meaning. It's going to be read the same way. And each and every song has a unique meaning also. Not only palindrome format, he has also sung another format which is called as Yamagam. Yamagam is one word, should repeat itself in all the 4 lines in a verse, but with different meaning. It cannot have the same meaning. That is called as Yamagam, and he is also a pioneer in that. We don't have a record of something before his period. Not sure if it was not there or not sure if it was all burnt down to ashes, because we are well known for that anyways. But when you look at this, at least the known text that we have is Yamagam, written by Thirugnana Sambanthar. Not only that, he has also written a poetry in the form of chariot. Right now, the modern science talks about left brain, right brain. They say if someone is very good in your left brain, you're not going to be so active with your right brain, and vice versa, and all these. That's why they say why men cannot cry and why ladies cannot read maps. I mean, these are all very, very common books, famous books that has made millions. But if you look at this particular Padigam, Thirugnana Sambanthar has broken that concept, and he even says that it's a myth. Mathematics, literature. One needs a logical mind, another needs an analytical mind, or rather emotional mind. The concept of emotion and the concept of arithmetic, which is your algorithmic, he has given a link for that, which is called as a poetry in the form of a chariot. It's called as Irugutru Irukkai. Beautiful Padigam, which every person who knows Tamil must be proud of. It's like, yes, we do have this. I don't think any other language has it. Another one is he loves nature. Of course, he's a small kid, right? Anyone would love nature. So he was just observing, at least I would like to imagine this way. He's looking at a cow, and the cow is walking, and when it is walking, it is urinating. Imagine this situation. The format of the cow urination was also taken as one of the logic for Padigam, that is also taken by Thirugnana Sambanthar, and I don't think anyone else has sung this kind of a format. He also has something in the form of a wheel. You imagine a cycle wheel. We do have all the spokes, right? You write a place name, basically the 12 names from Sirkari. You write in each and every spoke. When the wheel is moving, whichever spoke comes front, that is the logic he has read this Padigam also, which is in the form of a wheel, etc., etc., etc. If we keep talking about his literature, trust me, even someone who's not from a Tamil background, you will start reading the Tamil literature just for this, or rather Tamil grammar, just to understand this Padigam. Such a beautiful, if you want to really appreciate the language, you should take Thirugnana Sambandar's Padigam in your hands. Now, let's look at some of the patterns that Thirugnana Sambandar's Padigam usually follows. Majority of the Padigams will follow this particular pattern. The first 7 verses will always be for that place, temple, or Lord Shiva and his omnipotence and omnipresence, and all those. Basically, it will just be beautifully explaining Lord Shiva. 8th verse will always be Mount Kailash. It will always be talking about Kailash, some way or the other, how Ravana was punished and all these. 9th verse will always be for Tiruvannamalai. Tiruvannamalai is one of the place which is considered to be a very, very old mountain, which was once upon a time, it was considered to be of an volcano. Later it just cooled off, and now it is in the form of a mountain. It's a fire form of Lord Shiva. Yeah. And the 10th verse is always going to talk about how our karma, basically, the other cults and all these, because of our karma, sometimes we get attracted to the other cults and beliefs and all these. So washing away the myth that is associated with that is usually the 10th verse. And 11th verse is always for people like us, or rather people like me. Whenever we do something, we keep asking, what is it for me? Why should I do it? Why should I read this Padigam? What is the benefit of doing something? The last verse talks about something which is called as Thirukadaikappu. Kappu literally means protection. By spending 5 to 10 minutes, that's it. One Padigam is not going to take more than 5 minutes in our time on a daily basis. Just read one Padigam per day. It's going to serve as a protection. Trust me, this isn't your insurance. It's your life insurance. But you know what? The beauty is, this is not a life insurance only for this birth. Even for all your future births, it serves as an insurance. That is the beauty. I don't think any other insurance company gives us this flexibility. Yeah. So grab it fast. It's a good deal now itself. Imagine in a insurance, you do have all the ifs and buts and all the fine prints and all these, right? Nothing of that sort in Thirumurai. Absolutely nothing. It's an insurance which is a blank. You just take your Thirumurai, sing that or read that, whatever it is, whatever comes for you, just read it or sing it. That serves as an insurance for our this birth as well as how many ever births we are going to take. That's a beauty. When you talk about Thirugnana Sambanthar, he is actually expanding his tentacles in many, many areas. One thing that I love the most is his leadership quality, but I just don't want to go on a very prejudiced kind of an environment and just limit it to leadership, but that is one of my favorite. But apart from that, he has spoken a lot about social and ethical norms. He is an environmentalist. You can see a lot of environment related, the way how you need to protect the environment and all these in Thirugnana Sambandar's Padigam. He also talks a lot about the traditional norms, as in the social and the traditional norms, what are the do's and what are the don'ts, and all these are explained clearly. Saiva Siddhanta, because all these concepts are taken as, because Saiva Siddhanta was grown based on the Thirumurai, right? So Siddhanta concepts, you can see quite a lot. He is a revolutionist. If you look at it right now, all the modern revolutionary thoughts and everything that we are talking about, we can actually attribute it back to Thirugnana Sambanthar. And obviously, last but not the least, which is the language that we were talking about, literature. Leadership quality, as I was mentioning, all these, he did not limit his tentacles in any of these. Even though he was singing praises of Lord Shiva, he was only talking about Tamil, but actually he was expanding and expanding and expanding. Let's look at Thirugnana Sambanthar as from a social norm perspective. He was a perfect leader. Perfect leader, which means he tells us what we should be doing. Now, whenever we hear the word social norm, the first thing that comes into our mind is a normal life. And how do you define a normal life? I have to study well. I need to get a job, get married, give birth to kids, make sure they grow as a responsible citizen, and then die. This is what we call it as a normal life, right? But we don't know from where we always get this kind of a fear. Right now, go and tell your parents that I'm getting into the path of spirituality or the religious path. The first thing our parents, or even we sometimes, even sometimes some of us, we were like, wow, you're going to renunciate this world, ah? That's the first question they will ask. I don't know from where this idea of equating religious path is equal to renunciation was formed, but that is not Saivam, because that is not nature. Nature is always talking about living with our partner. So when you talk about living with our partner, that is norm. Obviously, Thirugnana Sambanthar was also talking about that. And Thirugnana Sambanthar is also very much, when you talk about his Padigams, you will be able to see this. He uses a very specific phrase also. He said, Pakiyam indri irudalai போகமும் பற்றும் விட்டார். Those people who are renunciating this life because of some kind of a cult, and they feel that they have to give up everything, as in the luxurious life and all these, and then they just go on, they have lost both, as in whatever we can enjoy in this life, the luxurious life, as well as whatever we need to achieve Lord Shiva's feet. So a person is actually, when we don't get married, and when we are not when we are just renunciating, when we are young and just going off because of force. Now, Thirugnana Sambanthar is very, very clear. I'm not talking over here about someone who has renunciated because of an interest when they were young. That's a different story. Because if you look at Guru Mahasannidhanam and all these, they have chosen this path. That's a different story. But when we talk about people who are from a normal life, they have this false idea of renunciating just because they want to achieve something. And if you look at it, other religions were propagating this extensively. They said you have to give up all these. Now, when you talk about that kind of a belief system, Thirugnana Sambanthar is breaking those. If you want to give up, it must be 100% your wish. It must not be from someone who has inculcated their ideas onto us. That is what beautifully he talks about as the social and ethical norms. And that is something which is very, very important in Saivism. So he says, normal people like you and I, we can start a normal life. We can study whatever it is, engineering, doctor, whatever it is. You can seek a job, you can get married, you can get kids and all these, but at the same time, just stay aloof. Don't get attached. Don't just get ourselves immersed into a whirlpool. That is what we are talking about over here. The next one we need to also understand is whatever it is, we are going to worship in the form of Ardhanarishwara, because Ardhanarishwara form is very, very important according to Saivism. And in this, we are also talking about something like Lord Shiva is depicted as a sun, or rather, we can imagine as a sun, and Parvati is taken as the rays. We can't split these two. If we split, it's not going to be useful as well. So 100% of the padigams he has sung, you will be able to see this concept of Ardhanarishwara in a very, very clear manner, because in Saivism, we don't separate both of them. But at the same time, we don't go and pray Shakti separately. When you talk about a Shivlinga, it's already in the form of Shiv Shakti. So we have to talk about Shiv Shakti format, which is called as the Ardhanarishwara format. Not only that, he took the responsibility of wiping out the tears from normal people like you and I. There's a place called as Vipur, and in that there was a merchant family. He had 7 girls. He promised his daughter's son that he will marry one of his girl, but because of money, because of his greed, what he did was he got married to 6 of his girls to some other guys, because of those days the dowry was given by the son's side, or rather the groom's side. The last girl was there, learning about her father's greed. She decides to go away with this particular groom, and they were ready to get married in a temple, so they walk away without telling anyone. They walk away, and apparently that night a snake, the boy was bit by a snake, and he dies off. This all happens in front of a temple. Thirugnana Sambanthar is coming in. He is about to visit the temple, and at that point in time, he's hearing all these kind of crying from this girl, saying that I'm not able to. What did because they have already eloped from the home, and now they can't go back. So this is one of the challenge they are facing. So this was one of the very big challenge they had, and that is where they are talking about Thirugnana Sambanthar took this responsibility, and he said, I will make sure that this kid is getting up and you're getting married before I visit Lord Shiva. And when I say this kind of words, Thirugnana Sambanthar is not saying because of, I am going to do it. He did not have that kind of an initiating over there. Everything is God's act. So he went on with, everything, submissiveness. He said, Lord Shiva, you have to get this kid for me, only then I'll visit you. And it was a very gentleman's agreement kind, yeah, because son and dad, right? So they may have thousands of this. And he sings a beautiful padigam over there. Even today, this is considered to be one of the savior when it comes to someone who's almost there near the death entrance. You can sing this padigam with 100% belief, and you will see a miraculous effort over here. It is sung like this. சடையா என்னுமால் சரணி என்னுமால் விடையா என்னுமால் வெறுவா விழுமால் மடையார் குவளை மறு மலரும் மருகல் உடையாய் தகுமோ இவள் உள்மெலிவே. Even today, read this entire padigam, 11 padigams, 11 verses in this padigam. You will see a tremendous benefit. And this is true even today. Not only that, he is also visiting a place called as Thiruvaiyaru, and he's able to see some of the entire place was in famine because of no rain and drought and all these. They were in famine. So he decides to, order food and serve. Obviously, he doesn't have any income, so he's asking for Lord Shiva's help and guidance. So Lord Shiva is giving money on a daily basis, and then they are serving food. in that particular situation, he's singing another beautiful song. Even today, if you want to get rid of any kind of, petitions and all these kind of issues, we usually sing this padigam also. It starts something like this. Vasi Tirave காசு நல்குவீர் மாசின் மிழலையீர் ஏசலில்லையே. Again, these are also like 11 verses are there to talk about it. You can talk a lot about all these. If you talk about after he has taken the divine milk, after this entire session, he starts singing a lot of padigams, and at that point in time he goes to a place called as Tirukolaka. Even today, this place is considered to be very, very auspicious for people who are having stammering problem, or they are having some speech related issues and all these. This particular padigam, usually what they do is they bring the kid to the temple, and the temple, they maintain a register. You just need to write the kid's name, and then you have to say what is the issue. Is it because of by birth the kid is not able to talk, or they are able to talk but stammering issue, or even some of us, we have the fear to speak in front of others, right? We can actually sing this padigam also. Any kind of speech related, communication related, we can sing this padigam. They will write down in the register, directly go to the temple, do all the puja and all these, and then read this padigam in the temple itself and go back home. Continuously on a daily basis, read this padigam. In most of the time, 48 days, or probably, twice of this, you will see a tremendous benefit in the kids' life. They will be able to sing or talk. I have seen a couple of people in my life from stammering problem, they managed to come out of it just by this padigam. If you go to Tirukolaka temple, please do look at the register. You will be simply astonished to see what kind of a truth exists over there. 100% of the padigam, in this particular padigam, he talks about nature. Everything is nature, which means communication is a human skill, because none of the other animals can communicate. It is only the human. So human skills are needed. So that's inculcated in this padigam itself. Shiva is nature and nature is Shiva. Who else can change that, right? So you can see quite a lot of environmental related changes that he has brought in. He has done a lot when it comes to the traditional norms as well. Same ways as I said, leadership. When you talk about a leader, the best thing right now, we are talking about a servant leader kind of an approach. A leader must first be a follower, right? I mean, that's what the servant leadership comes in, right? So a leader must be a follower first. This is also clearly given by Thirugnana Sambantar's life. You are able to see whatever he does, that he will usually go stand in front of Shiva, ask for permission before he can start with anything. Classic example is the incident that happened in Madurai. There were 3 types of challenges that he had to go through. One is which is called as Suravadam, which is based on fever, Punalvadam, which is based on water, Analvadam, which is based on fire. If you look at it, Lord Shiva is in the form of earth, water, and fire. Earth is known for patience, water is known for prosperity, fire is known for purity. All these are characteristics of Lord Shiva, right? So what Thirugnana Sambanthar did was he saw all the 5 elements as Lord Shiva, and he directly went on with all the challenges. Just like that, in a jiffy, he came out of all the challenges in flying color. That's what he sang beautifully. பண்ணும் பாதம் ஏழும் பல ஓசை தமிழாவையும் உள் நின்றதோர் சுவையும் 100 தாள தோலி பலவும் மண்ணும் பூனல் உயிரும் பரு காற்றும் சுடர் மூன்றும் விண்ணும் முழுதானிடம் வீழிம் மிழலையே. He is depicting Lord Shiva as whatever you're able to witness around you in this world right now. Because of this leadership, you're able to see his leadership that's being portrayed in each and every situation. Now let's look at what we have, right? He's also motivating us to read padigams. You see, Lord Shiva loves to hear padigams. And Thirugnana Sambanthar is telling us what are the benefits that we will be getting when we are reading his padigams. Let's look at one simple example padigam and then we will move on. Just a verse, not an entire padigam, just a song. This is basically to say, if you sing properly, what is going to be bestowed on you, right? That's the internal crux of this particular song. It starts like this: Pan ஒன்ற இசை பாடும். பண்ணொன்ற இசை பாடும் அடியார்கள் கூடியாக மண்ணின்றி விண் கொடுக்கும் மணிகண்டன் மறுபூமிடம் எண்கின்றி முக்கோடி வாணாளதுடையானை புண்ணொன்ற பொருதழித்தான் புள்ளிருக்கு வேளூரே. If you look at this padigam, this verse, he says, if someone is able to read the padigam, sing the padigam in the right manner, you will be given all the riches that you need in this birth. Not only that, even in your next birth, in your future births, you will be given all the richness and the wealth that you need. Now we may have a question. I am not good in singing. My throat is not okay. My voice is not okay. I don't know how to read the padigam. I don't have confidence, etc., etc. Because you see, we can come up with thousands of excuses not to read a padigam. That's a very, very classic situation. In this, he says, even if you have a throat which is because of cold or flu, sometimes our throat will be totally damaged and we won't be able to sing properly. Even in those situations, you can sing, and Lord Shiva is there to hear. Imagine when you're even with the proper voice or something, when we just get so excited when we are doing our Shiv Puja, we just start singing. Everyone in our family will give a secret look. And after our puja, they will say, wow, the way you sang, I thought Lord Shiva is going to run away. I'm not sure if you had that experience. Of course, I had. I'm talking about, it's a confession. I had that experience. People had told me that once I start singing, right, Lord Shiva will run away. This particular verse came in as a rescue, which gave me a lot of confidence. Thirugnana Sambanthar is saying, even if you have flu, even if you have a broken throat, don't worry, sing. Lord Shiva is there to hear you. Look at this padigam. He says, கோழை மிடராக கவி கோளுமிலவாக இசை கூடும் வகையால் ஏழை அடியார் அவர்கள் யாவை சொன்ன சொல் மகிழும் ஈசனிடமாம் தாழை இளநீர் முதிய காய்கமுகின் வீழனர் தாறு சிதறி வாழையுதிர் வீழ்கனிகள் ஊறி வயல் சேறு செய்யும் வைகாவிலே. If you look at this padigam, he says, even you don't know how to read it. If you don't know how to read this padigam, it's okay. If you have a cold-filled throat, it's okay. As in the flu and the phlegm is actually stuck. You're not able to even speak properly. It's okay. You can sing. Whatever you're able to, the level, the extent that you're able to sing, go ahead. Lord Shiva is there to, he says, Sona sol mahirum isan idamam, which literally translates as whatever verses you are saying, if it is said with pure love, Lord Shiva is there to hear it. What more confidence do we need? What else is going to stop us from reading padigams, right? So he's talking about such a simplified manner, such a beautiful approach to say, don't worry, go ahead and sing. This is what we need. Same way, Saiva Siddhanta, which I know some of us are very interested in this, so I'm just going to give a small example of that and then we'll move on. Saiva Siddhanta talks about three things. One is Padi, which is called as Almighty. Pasu, which is like you and I, souls. Pasam, entanglement, which is called as Arnavam Kanmam Maya. The reason for our birth, we are all getting into this vicious cycle of birth and death, is because of this pasam, which we call it as entanglement. It is 100% because of that. Now, in order to get rid of this vicious cycle of birth and death and just get ourselves free from this, what should we do is, when we are talking about in a farm, if we want to grow a particular, say for example, rice, yeah, or a paddy field or something, if we want to grow, you will preserve that seeds in a proper place, because once it is heated up or it is cooked, it will not grow. What Lord Shiva is doing is he's taking all these seeds. The seeds are basically the reason for our birth. So he takes all that and he's just trying to fry it off. Deep fried. You know, there's a beautiful concept called as deep fried brain, right? So same ways he talks about just frying it off. The reason is once it is fried, all the karma is killed, and after that we won't be born again. விளையாததொரு பரிசில் வரு பசு பாசவிதனை ஒன் தளையாயின தவிர அருள் தலைவன் அது சார்பாம் களையார் தரு கதிராயிரமுடையவனோடு முளை மாமதி தவழும் உயர் முதுகுன்றடைவோமே. That's exactly he says. He takes all these, because all these are potential seeds, right? He just fries it up to the extent that it doesn't come up again. Hopefully he will do that for us also one day. Just praying for that. What else can we do, right? Not only that, if you look at it, according to Saiva Siddhanta, if a soul has to get on to the next level, we need to start reciting the concept of Sivaya Nama. Sivaya Nama is very, very important. And the moment we talk about this 5-letter syllable, the mantra that is given to us, you can get this mantra only if we have done something good in the earlier births. என்ன புண்ணியம் செய்தனை நெஞ்சமே இயுங்கடல் வையத்து முன்னம் நீ பூரி நல்வினை பயனிடை முழுமணி தரளங்கள் மண்ணு காவிரி சூழ் திருவாலஞ்சுழி வாணனை வாயார பன்னியாதரித்து ஏத்தியும் பாடியும் வழிபடும் அதனாலே என்ன புண்ணியம் செய்தனை நெஞ்சமே. Only if we have good karma, we can even think about his name. We can even recite his name as Sivaya Nama. I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to Kaumara aadheenam and Thiruvaiyaru Thirumurai Mandram for organizing such a wonderful and insightful series on Saivite text. I will meet you again in the next session, approximately in another 15 days, I guess. Until then, stay blissful with all the padigams. Sivaya Nama, Thiruchitrambalam. தென்னாடுடைய சிவனே போற்றி, எந்நாட்டவர்க்கும் இறைவா போற்றி, அண்ணாமலையம் அண்ணா போற்றி, கண்ணாரமுத கடலே போற்றி. சிவ சிவ திருச்சிற்றம்பலம்.